So, if you're a parent of a toddler, you know the scene, right? One minute it's all calm and peaceful, and the next, a toy goes flying, a friend gets pushed, or there's a total meltdown because a cracker broke in half. It can feel like absolute chaos. Well, today, we're going to put the pieces of that puzzle together.
And let's just get right to the heart of it with a question that I know is on your mind. Why? Why does this happen? Is my kid being defiant? Are they just trying to drive me crazy? It's one of the biggest frustrations for parents. And the answer? Well, it's probably not what you're thinking.
And here it is. This is the single most important idea we're going to talk about. These impulsive moments, they're not a sign of a bad kid. They're a sign of a busy, developing brain. And, once you really get that, it changes everything about how you see these tough moments. We're shifting our whole perspective from discipline to development.
Okay, so let's peek under the hood and get into the science of it all. Because to really truly help our toddlers, we first have to understand the amazing but very unfinished construction project that's happening inside their heads.
First things first, what even is impulse control? Well, put simply, it's that little pause button. It's the space between feeling an urge like I want that toy and taking action. It's that think before you act muscle. And the part of the brain in charge of all this? That's the prefrontal cortex, which is basically the brain's CEO. And here's the wild part, that CEO of the brain, it's on a really long-term development plan. In toddlerhood, we're just laying the slab foundation. But that prefrontal cortex won't be fully mature, fully online, until around age 25. It just goes to show you, teaching self-control is absolutely a marathon, not a sprint.
And if you need just one number to hang on to through all this, let it be this one. Research shows us that the skills for real impulse control don't even begin to show up reliably until a child is between 3.5 and 4 years old. So expecting a 2-year-old to consistently stop themselves, it's like asking them to write a novel. Their brain just isn't there yet.
So if their brains aren't ready, does that mean we just throw our hands up and wait? Absolutely not. This is where we get practical. We're shifting from the why to the how. So let's look at some super effective research-backed things you can start doing, like today. Our default is often what's on the left here, telling our toddler to just use their willpower. Don't touch. But the science is so clear on this. The approach on the right is what actually works. You change the environment. Instead of getting into a battle of wills, you just become a helper by removing the temptation.
And look, this isn't just a nice theory. It comes from some of the most famous child development research ever. You've probably heard about the marshmallow experiment? Well, this quote right here is the secret sauce from that study. Out of sight, out of mind is a literal brain strategy for a young child.
And the data, it's just so dramatic. Look at that difference. When the marshmallow was right there in front of them, kids could hold out for about 3 minutes. But when it was hidden, almost 9 minutes. That's not a small jump. It's a huge one. It tells us that changing the environment is one of the most powerful tools we have. Of course, we can't hide everything, right? So when we do need to set a limit, how we do it makes all the difference. Consistency is everything. Their brains thrive on predictability. Keep your rules super simple, use a calm, firm voice, and, this one's critical, pair your words with a physical gesture, like holding up your hand to say, stop. I really want to pause on this for a second because it's so important for our own sanity. Thousands of repetitions. It's not that your toddler is ignoring you or being naughty. They are literally building the wiring in their brain that connects your word, stop, to the physical action of stopping. It just takes a ton of time and patience. And this all leads to this great idea called scaffolding. Like scaffolding on a building, it's temporary support. We can do that for our toddler's brain. So you give a reminder before you go into a tricky situation. You tell them exactly what to do. Put your hands in your pockets, instead of just a vague, be good. And you always try to give them a yes behavior to replace the no. And now, for the best part. Building these super important brain skills does not have to be a chore. In fact, one of the best ways to do it is just through playing simple, fun games. It's like taking their prefrontal cortex to the gym, but for them, it's just a blast. Let's start with an old-school classic. Red light, green light. Researchers constantly point to this game as a top-tier impulse control builder. And why? Because it's a direct workout for that fundamental skill, starting an action and then stopping it on command. So simple, no equipment needed, and so effective.
Freeze dance is another amazing one. It works that exact same stop and start muscle, but you get to add music. The second that music cuts out, their brain has to fire off a signal to their entire body to just freeze. It's a really powerful full body workout for that impulse control. Okay, so beyond the stop and go stuff, pretty much anything that involves taking turns and waiting is pure gold for building self-control. That simple act of waiting for your turn is a real-time, low-stakes way for them to practice delaying what they want. And you really don't need any fancy board games for this. Just building a tower with blocks and saying, "My turn, now your turn," makes the idea really concrete. Or making a little rule to wait for a countdown before you pop bubbles. Every single one of these little activities is strengthening that all-important pause muscle. All right, let's zoom back out as we start to wrap this up. We've talked about the brain science, we've talked about the day-to-day strategies. Now let's frame it all with the long view in mind, focusing on patience, progress, and this really important idea called co-regulation. So, what is this big word, co-regulation? It's actually a pretty simple and beautiful idea. It means that toddlers don't learn how to manage themselves all alone. They learn it with us. When we stay calm, when we offer comfort, and when we help them figure out their big feelings, we're basically lending them our mature brain until theirs catches up. We become their external regulators. And honestly, one of the most powerful ways to co-regulate is to just model it. When you feel yourself getting frustrated, just narrate what you're doing out loud, saying something like, "Whoa, I'm feeling a little grumpy, so I'm going to take a big, slow breath." That is way more powerful than any lecture you could ever give. You're showing them the blueprint in real time. Which brings us right back to our expectations. What does success really look like for a toddler? It's not perfection. It's those little flashes of waiting. It's them starting to get a rule after you've reminded them 10 times. It's learning words like mad and sad. This is what progress looks like. So at the end of the day, remember, we are not trying to raise a perfectly behaved toddler because that's just not a thing. The real goal is to be their supportive guide, patiently laying the foundation brick by brick for the amazing self-control skills that they're going to use for the rest of their lives. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Just looking at your day, your routines, your child, what's one tiny, playful way you can plant a little seed of self-control today? Maybe it's a 30-second game of red light, green light before bath time. Maybe it's just saying my turn, your turn with 2 blocks. Because that's how this whole big skill is built. One small seed, one little moment at a time.